Our main protagonist is shocked when a beautiful woman appears before his eyes. In the previous hour, Japanese teenager named Shichi Hiraji endures a difficult life in high school due to his unattractive appearance and unpleasant smell. Suddenly, his entire class receives a message by a mysterious god, saying that they should group up before he sends them in another world. Everybody has a group except Shichi, who also tried to join them, but they rejected him because of his low stats, saying that he's barely even human. They all got suddenly teleported to another world. Shichi is separated from his classmates and emerges in a forest, where he is forced to learn how to survive on his own for 5 months. In that time, he comes across mysterious fruits that enhance his body and a healing potion. After eating the evolutionary fruit tired of eating, he rests in. He got surprised by a monkey and kicks him. He drinks the healing potion to heal his wounds, but the monkey slams him, knocking him to the ground. When he is about to be eaten by the monkey, he accidentally farts, killing the monkey. After killing the monkey, he evolves and gets a more conventionally attractive appearance. He faces a wolf and kills it, gaining the legendary items. After gaining enough experience in combat hunting and use of magic, Shichi is attacked by Assyria, a gorilla-like female monster who has fallen in love with him after witnessing his strength and battle. Shichi survives the battle with Assyria, convincing her to take Shichi as her mate. Shichi grows increasingly uncomfortable around Assyria, attempts to escape, but Assyria sees him and follows him. Shichi successfully ran away from Assyria. He enters a cave that she had previously warned him about. Unfortunately, Shichi is attacked by the cave's sole inhabitant. The Dark Lord Xenos. Assyria saves him, but she is left grievously wounded. Shichi attacks Xenos fiercely, casts a water spell, but Xenos absorbs it. Shichi kills Xenos in the battle, inadvertently releasing him from his curse of undeath and allowed him to depart into the afterlife. Assyria goes through her evolution and turned her into a beautiful human being. Shichi is shocked, unable to believe that she is so beautiful. Shichi gains more magical powers and becomes a more attractive human being. They also learn the tragic history of Xenos, received a visit from Mr. Sheep, the administrator of Xenos' dungeon. Mr. Sheep gifts Shichi and Assyria with traveling funds and a kit that could help them harvest more fruits of evolution. After leaving the forest, Shichi and Assyria decided to travel together. Meanwhile, Shichi's classmates have been declared heroes by the king. They have started their training. However, some of the students aren't happy with the training sessions and want to see actual combat, much to the displeasure of Karen Kanazuki, one of the few people in the class who genuinely cared for Shichi. Shichi and Assyria reach Tilburg, royal capital of Wimberg, hoping to join the local adventurers guild and gain official IDs. Although Shichi is unnerved by the members' fetishes, he still gains membership for himself and Assyria. To become official members, they must undertake minor jobs supervised by a veteran guildmate, Artoria Grimm. While Assyria looks after some children in a church, Shichi is tasked with helping the demolition. They go to demolition place and Shichi accidentally buries himself. Panicked Artoria quickly tried to help him. She blames herself that everyone is around her is always getting hurt. Much to her shock, Shichi is totally fine, making her angry, saying that you could not do something very dangerous like this. Afterwards, Shichi walks a noble woman's wolf by running away from it. The noble woman teases Artoria, saying she's starting to fall in love with Shichi, making her blush. With their tasks completed, Shichi and Assyria are officially welcomed into the guild. Shichi and Assyria continue their tests under Artoria's supervision, until Shichi comes across a trio of demons setting up teleportation portals that leads to the dungeon inhabited by the Black Dragon God. The demons summon a troll and attacked Shichi, but he failed and absorbed the troll's strength. And the 3 demon and troll got scared by Shichi's superhuman strength. He ran away. The next day, as Shichi and Assyria begin their final test, but Artoria accidentally steps on a teleportation trap, and they are teleported into the dungeon, which contains a massive labyrinth. Artoria steps on a stone, which causes a huge wall to rise and separates her from Shichi and Assyria, forcing her to find a way to meet up with them. She faces a mummy that almost beats her, but Artoria slices it with her axe. She reaches the lowest part of the dungeon, where she faces the Black Dragon God. She transformed herself into Calamity Brisik. She tries to attack the Black Dragon, but fails, yet tries again. But the Black Dragon stabbed her with its tail, almost kills her, until Shichi and Assyria arrive just in time to save her. Shichi draws a dual sword and moves swiftly, but the dragon freezes him. Aaron got hit by its tail. Shichi was almost beaten badly by the dragon. The dragon was casting a powerful attack, but Shichi counters it by casting a water spell. He tried to attack the dragon again, but he freezes him once again. Breaking free from being freeze, he slays the Black Dragon God and acquires a black conquer coats, which almost no normal knife can cut by the power of special magic, which he uses to take his friends back to the guild. Artoria is shocked that Seichi would risk his life to save her and felt guilty for putting him in danger. She tells him the story of how she became known as the Calamity. She was born with 2 million points of bad luck, causing her to bring misfortune to everyone she came across. Fortunately, Seichi gives her a special ring, which he found back at the dungeon. Although the ring nullifies her curse, Artoria thinks Seichi just proposed to her and she runs away in embarrassment. Meanwhile, news of the Black Dragon God's death reached the remaining leaders of the Demon Lord's army, causing them to worry that someone is trying to restart the war between humans and demons. Following the advice of Guskel and Assyria, Seichi goes to the Royal Library of Tilbert, hoping to find information about his fellow classmates. When that fails, he attempts to read all the books about magic and accidentally increases his magic power. He later goes to a nearby cafe for a meal, starts a conversation with the manager, Nord, and a commoner known simply as Rands. He admits that he feels guilty, that he just put Artoria in an uncomfortable position. So Nord and Rands advised him to be honest with Artoria and set things right with her. Meanwhile, Artoria gets advised by her friend Adriana to admit her feelings for Seichi. Upon meeting yet again, Artoria admits that she is in love with Seichi. Even though he is already in love with Assyria, who agrees to share Seichi with Artoria, a decision made with unanimous approval from their friends. Seichi has become an A-ranked adventurer, and on the advice of Guskel, he decides to buy a horse. He goes to the stables. The owner offers him a dragon horse. The second is a deer horse. The third is a temperamental female donkey who kicks and beats the owner named Lulin. Seichi switches to another language so he can understand her. Lulin tells him to come inside. Lulin attempts to kick Seichi, but fails and carries her, making her surrender and agrees to buy her. After buying food for Lulin, Seichi finds a young artist named Mei, who is having a discussion with her friend Clay about entering the royal art competition. Celebrated a month after the royal race, Mei feels unsure whether she should enter the tournament or not. So Seichi proposes a deal. If he wins at the royal race, Mei will enter the art competition. She agrees. The next day, before the competition starts, Mei and Clay encourages Seichi and Lulin. The race starts. Lulin suddenly feels sick for not eating a proper breakfast before the race. Fortunately, Seichi feeds her some of his fruits of evolution. Meanwhile, the other contestants are racing. One racer summons a pack of wolves and rank Hell Wolf. Lulin gets better and runs even faster. She jumps over the contestants and lands, killing the wolf due to the impact. She charges to the Hell Wolf and kicks it, knocking it down to the ground, allowing her to win first place. After the race, however, Lulin evolves into a human form, thanks to the fruits of evolution that Seichi had given her. Artoria gets angry when she sees Seichi with another woman and punches him, not knowing it's Lulin. Assyria explained that animals become human when they eat an evolutionary fruit. She then transformed back into her gorilla form, shocking Artoria. As the winner of the royal race, Seichi is taken to Archel, the royal castle of Wimberg, where he meets Louise Baltz, captain of Wimberg's Valkyries. She challenges the Ajit to a training match to test his skills. Louise attacks him, but all he can do is dodge her attacks. Louise tried to end him in one blow, but Seichi knocks her sword, and even he is shocked that he wins the match. She declares herself to be his apprentice. Suddenly, the king of Wimberg is attacked by an assassin, and the Valkyries move in to intercept her. Seichi uses his magic to discover that the assassin is only a child. Meanwhile, Seichi's classmates are transferred to Barbator Magical Academy, the demon nation's governing council led by Lucia. The demon lord's daughter agreed to negotiate for peace with Wimberg, much to the frustration of Lucia's advisor Kraze, who is pushing for war against the humans. Seichi intercepts the assassin at the castle's training grounds and easily captures her. He identifies the assassin as Origamiria and leaves her to be interrogated by the Valkyries. However, the king is still left in critical condition due to Origamiria's curse. Seichi is the only one who can save his life. He also discovers the king to be Rands, the man who advised him earlier on how to solve his romantic problems with Artoria. He was introduced to Florio Beltz, the leader of Magic Division, and older brother of Louise. Florio asks Seichi for his help and starts creating his own healing spell. He successfully healed the king, and as a reward, Rands allows Seichi to use the castle to practice his fighting and magic skills. Meanwhile, the girls take baths together and worried about Seichi after the Valkyries took him away when he won the race. Meanwhile, Zakia, the old soldier who mentored Seichi's classmates in combat, questions the Kaiser Emperor's decision to send them to Barbator Magical Academy. He is horrified to learn that Hilio, a mage working for the Emperor who places bracelets on the students to prevent them from becoming a threat to the kingdom. Suddenly, an assassin attempts to kill the king, forcing Zakia to pursue him. Seichi and Louise watch the interrogation of Olga at the hands of Lorna, who is one of Louise's Valkyries. She tortures her by letting her smell the food but not feeding her. They stop the interrogation when they discover that Olga is wearing a slave collar that forces her to obey the orders of the Kaiser Empire. Sichi is able to release her from the collar by creating his own liberation spell. Olga shares her story of how they took her mother to concentration camp, how they trained them brutally to become the best assassins. Sichi comforts Olga by saying that beast folk and human are same, and he could be her older brother, and decides to take her with him. Louise is forced to investigate the activity of monsters near the borders of Wimber, but she asks Sichi to look after Rands in her absence. Meanwhile, Zakia confronts the man who tried to assassinate the Kaiser Emperor, an archer known as Sheen, disgusted by the death of the demon woman he once loved, who was just selling flowers, is unjustly killed by the soldiers of the kingdom. Sheen says that he wanted revenge against the Kaiser Empire for its ruthless discrimination against demons. Sheen barrages him with arrows, but Zakia destroys them all. Sheen escapes, and Zakia is forced to reevaluate his loyalty to the Empire. Archel receives a visit from Barnabas, a legendary wizard, who served as a mentor to Rands. He informs Rands about the students who recently transferred to his school, Barbador Magical Academy, causing Sichi to realize that those new students are his classmates from Japan. Suddenly, a soldier informs Rands that an army of monsters have begun an attack on Tilbert. Louise and her Valkyries have linked up with an army led by the Black Paladin, Wimberg's finest soldier, to fight monsters at Wimber's borders, leaving them unable to assist in the defense of Tilbert. Wimberg's remaining soldiers and the local adventurers guild joined forces to defend Tilbert. Assyria hit the enemy with a single arm of gorilla form. Artoria freezes the enemy and kills it with her axe, while Luland is kicking a bunch of enemies and Oliga cuts a bunch of monsters. Barnabas casts a tornado spell that killed many monsters. They succeed in holding the line against the first wave of monsters. Unfortunately, reinforcements for the monster army have arrived, leaving the defenders with no means of escape. Sichi creates an offensive spell called Judgment that obliterates the enemy army while leaving the defenders of Tilbert unharmed. Impressed by Sichi's talent, Barnabas congratulates him for saving the city and offers a teaching position at Barbador, to which Sichi accepts on the condition of waiting until Louise and her Valkyries returns to Tilbert to ensure Rand's safety. Afterwards, as promised, Clay and May join the painting competition. Clay presents his art inspired by a matchstick. May's art is inspired by Sichi and Lulin, calling her art hero. May wins the first place, so Sichi congratulated her. Meanwhile, Kraze is disappointed to learn that the monster army failed to destroy Tilbert. This failure earns him the anger of the Demon Lord, who is hoping to use the negative emotions unleashed by the destruction of the city to resurrect himself. However, the Demon Lord only considers his failure to be a temporary setback. He swears to find another way to regain his power. Afterwards, Louise returns to Tilbert. Sichi and his friends departs for Barbador, but promise to return. Here's more video you might like. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on our future videos.